Projection booth. This projection booth video you're about to see is divided into 3 sections for your viewing convenience: presentation, light, and maintenance. We realize no 2 projection booths are exactly the same. Therefore, this tape is designed to provide a general approach to booth operations and upkeep. What you will see before you is now company policy and should be adhered to by all. Should you need any further explanations or assistance, please contact your district engineer. Booth opening procedures. We have compiled booth opening procedures. Additional responsibilities may be required by your management. However, these are standard opening procedures for all theaters. The projection booth should be locked at all times, so in the mornings it must be unlocked. Turn on all the booth lights so you can see what you're doing. Your theater will either have one breaker box or individual breaker boxes next to each projector. All breakers must be turned on in addition to the switches on each projector. Make sure all auditorium work lights are turned off. If they must be turned off downstairs, get the key if you need to and go down to the auditorium now. Back in the projection booth, check the volume control for the proper setting before those trailers hit. You don't want to blow out your matinee crowd with the level you set the previous night. Check the oil levels in all projectors. The indicator is here on the Century and here on the Simplex. You will never get a true reading unless you check the oil before the projector is ever run that day. Check operating notes from the night before. Anything that's not functioning properly or that's not normal should be written there. Check with management for trailer changes, feature time changes, etc. The booth should be vacuumed every morning before the feature starts. Also, the lens and the port window should be checked for cleanliness. Clean as needed. We suggest you or your manager synchronize all booth clocks with the box office cashier and the doorman usher. If you're opening a new picture, check the following. Is the feature flat or scope? Make sure to set the correct projection lens. Adjust masking if necessary. Set the automation for correct sound format if stereo is required. Time trailers and feature for accurate running times. You should have recorded what time the trailers hit the screen and what time the feature hits the screen. Box office cashiers and doorman ushers should also have this information available for the patron. Next is to thread all the projectors and get them running on schedule. Check the sound level. Check that the correct projection lens is in the system. And last but not least, you need, as each screen starts, to check the focus, sound, and masking, not only from the booth, but also from each auditorium. There is no truer test than to walk your auditoriums. If you do not have the time, then find someone who does. After the trailers end, the feature should be checked for focus, sound, and masking also. Trailers sometimes run louder than the feature, and the focus can drift after startup. Lastly, return to the booth to check that the feature is correctly running around the sprockets, through the rollers, and onto the platter. We've also compiled standard closing procedures that are to be adhered to by all. Additional responsibilities may be required by your management. Brush out each projector, then wipe the inside of each machine out. Each platter must also be wiped down along with the rollers. Close all the projector gates. Where simplex sound heads are in use, the sound gate or lateral guide assembly must be opened at night to prevent damage to the rubber sound roller. Also, take up the last wrap of film that is laying on the floor and put it on the platter. Place the anti-skid device on the platter to hold the end of the film in place. Make sure Z-coat, oil cans, splicer, splicing tape, Q-tape, and Y-pawls are in their proper places. Make sure workbenches are clean and all materials are put up. Make sure the splicer blade is clean. Leave messages for people opening the next day. Put a Viz Queen cover over the platters holding film to keep dust and dirt off. Check each auditorium for customers that may have fallen asleep. This is a double check for security. Turn off all lights and breakers. Lastly, lock the booth door. Film splicing and makeup. In order to make up a film, you need to know how to splice. Splicing is basically the joining of two pieces of film so that the film can run through the projector uninterrupted. You need a splicer and splicing tape. The only splicing tape you are to use is Permaseal. We use 35mm unperforated rolls. Although there are different types of splicers, the basics are essentially the same for all. To splice, make sure the two ends of the film you're joining together have been trimmed at the frame lines, so that when you splice the ends together, you won't have a misframe. If one of the pieces of film needs to be trimmed at the frame line, then using the sprocket pins at the right-hand end of the splicer bed, position the film for a straight splice, so that the frame line is centered over the lower cutting blade. Lower the blade. Now position both pieces of film in the splicer bed on the center pins only. The film should meet at the center red line. Make sure the sound track is lined up. If dirt or oil is on the film in the splice area, wipe with a clean cloth to ensure maximum tape adhesion. Pull the tape from the supply roll across the film, lining up the tape with the edge marks on the front guide bracket. Press the tape onto the film to eliminate any air bubbles. Lower the top jaw assembly and press the hand lever to the full downward position. This will trim the tape at both edges of the film and perforate the sprocket holes in the tape. Flip the film over and again center the splice on the red line. Pull the tape across the entire splice area. Rub again to eliminate air bubbles and lower the top jaw assembly fully. This will produce a smooth, stable splice with tape on both sides of the film. Okay, now we're going to show you one suggested method of film makeup. We will use, for example, a feature that has 6 reels. Check the film cans to be sure that the film is addressed to your theater and that the title of the film is correct on both cans. Open the cans. There should be 3 reels in one can and 3 in the other. Check the reel bands to see if we have reels 1 through 6. Also, make sure we have the correct title on each reel band. Once we have determined that we have the correct film and the correct cans open, we may be changing several features. Pull reel number 6 out of the can and take off the band. Put the band aside until you collect all 6. Eventually, they will be put back in the film cans for storage. Put the reel on the rewind table and check to see whether the reel is heads or tails up. On the leader, it will indicate the name of the feature, the reel number, and whether or not it is heads up or tails up. If the reel is heads up, rewind it to become tails up. If the reel is already tails up, like this, take it off the rewind table and place it in the can on the far right side. Take out reel number 5 and again remove its reel band. Put the reel on the rewind table. Mark the end of reel 5 with masking tape for easy identification. Follow the same procedure as before. Check the leader to make sure you have the correct reel. If necessary, rewind the reel to be tails up and put the reel back in the can to the left of reel number 6. Continue this procedure until all 6 reels are tails up in sequential order and the reel bands are in a stack. Take the stack of reel bands. They should be in order and roll them up. Wrap the string around them and put them in the top of the open film can. Now that we have the film laying in the cans, tails up, and reels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in order, we're ready to start building up the feature. Locate reel number 6 and place it on the rewind table. Place a 6,000-foot reel on the right side of the rewind table. If the film is on the reel correctly, it should come from the bottom of the shipping reel and go to the top of the 6,000-foot reel with the soundtrack next to you. Leave the tail of the last reel in place to protect the end of the feature. Our next step is to splice 8 feet of black mylar leader to the tails leader on reel number 6. You do this because if you have a long run on a particular film, it will keep the tail of the last reel intact. Also, it gives you a place to put a piece of masking tape with the title of the feature. Now wind the film down to the last frames of the picture, which are usually the rating code. Then proceed approximately 24 inches from the end of the last frame. This is where you will place sensing tape on the soundtrack side of the film. This will close the dowser and cut the sound off on most automation equipment. This sensing tape should be 6 to 9 inches long. Place the tape next to the sprocket holes and fold it over so that the sensing tape is not laying in the sprocket holes on the other side. After you've placed the sensing tape, you need to start your film inspection. The film inspection should start at the end of the reel. With your index finger and thumb, slightly press each side of the film, start the rewind, and hold the film so that you can feel a splice or a bad place in the film. Doing this will allow you to stop and check the splices and make any corrections when necessary. At times, a new print will have splices made in the center of the frame. This is called a misframe. A misframe should be spliced off at the frame line and remade. Now let's back up to where we were about a moment ago, at the end of reel number 6. As we wind the film toward the head during the inspection, we are also looking for the beginning of the credits. As we get to the beginning of the credits, we need to stop. And at this point, place another piece of sensing tape. This time, the tape is placed on the opposite side of the film soundtrack. This tape should be approximately 6 to 9 inches long and should be applied like previously discussed. This tape brings up the house lights at the end of the feature and allows the film to continue running during the credits. After applying the tape, continue inspecting the rest of reel number 6. As we arrive at the beginning of reel number 6, we want to go to the heads leader and make sure that we have the correct title for the feature that we are building up. Splice the film in a place that will allow one complete frame of the feature to be left on the leader side. Roll the heads leader up, and put a piece of tape on it, masking tape preferably, and mark it H6. This stands for head reel 6. Now we're finished with reel 6. Place it back in the shipping can and take out reel 5. Place reel 5 on the makeup table. Double check the tails leader of the reel to make sure it is the correct title and that it is reel 5. Then look at the film and find the end of the picture. Once we've located the last 2 frames of the picture, we splice the film, leaving 1 frame of the picture of reel 5 on the tails leader of reel 5. Once we've spliced the tail off and rolled it up, mark it T5, the tail of reel number 5. Keep all the heads and tails together. Now we need to take the head of reel 6 and the tail of reel 5 and splice them together. We should use a clear piece of splicing tape on both sides of the film. The next thing we do is get our bottle of white shoe polish with the applicator tip. Take the top off and get the tip moist with the white shoe polish, and very carefully mark the edge of the film on the soundtrack side only. This marking should be a total of 2 frames long. The shoe polish should only be put on the edge and should not cover the soundtrack. It's used to locate splices during the film teardown. Once we have applied the shoe polish, let it dry completely before continuing. This is very important. If we don't allow the 3 to 5 minutes necessary to dry, it will smear on the soundtrack like this, possibly get into the picture. It may also stick on the platter feeder assembly. As we proceed, one of the first things we want to do is double check the splice that was made between reels 5 and 6. Be sure that the soundtracks are both on the same side. When we pick up the film with the soundtrack on the left side, we should be able to see the picture frames as shown on the screen. The picture images should all be going in the same direction. Another check is that 16 to 24 frames from the end of reel number 5 should be a set of changeover cues. This set of 4 changeover cues will be on 4 separate frames in the upper right-hand corner. After ensuring that we have correctly spliced the tail of reel number 5 to the head of reel number 6, we'll continue to wind through the film, carefully inspecting the film as instructed earlier. We'll then go through the same process as discussed earlier for each reel. At the beginning of reel number 4, we will have our 6,000-foot reel full. At this time, we will splice the heads leader off of reel number 4, allowing one frame so that we can realign when starting to tear down the film. Again, roll it up and mark it correctly. H4. Also, we can place the polish on the edge of the beginning of reel number 4. While we're letting the polish dry, we can return reel 4 to the can and get reel number 3. Between reels 4 and 3 is a point where the splice will be made on the makeup table at the platter. Place reel number 3 on the makeup table. Remove the 6,000-foot reel with reels 4, 5, and 6. Put a new 6,000-foot reel on the right-hand side. Proceed as you did with the previous reels. At the beginning of reel number 1, our 6,000-foot reel is full. It is here that we want to check the sound and picture fade in, and be sure that when we remove the head, we make our splice at a point ahead of the sound and picture fade in. This will give us the best presentation into the feature. Again, roll the head of reel 1 and mark it as such. At the beginning of reel number 1, we must apply another piece of Q-tape to cue the lights down. Again, be sure to fold the Q-tape over, taking care not to cover the sprocket holes on either side. We should also make a stripe 2 frames long of shoe polish on the soundtrack side. This will indicate the beginning of reel number 1. Once the polish is dry, you have the complete feature built up and ready to be loaded onto the platter. Now take off the 6,000-foot reel that has reels 1, 2, and 3 on it and place it on the makeup table. Adjust the rollers on the makeup table a proper height to feed the film. Soundtrack side up onto the platter. Now is when the feature is spliced onto the tail end of the trailer. As you will learn in teardown of the film, the trailers from the previous presentation have been left on the platter. Be aware that the trailers must be inspected at minimum once a month. Wind the entire 6,000-foot reel onto the platter. After the reel has been wound onto the platter, we will take this reel off and then put the 6,000-foot reel with reels 4, 5, and 6 on the makeup table. Splice the tail of reel number 3 to the head of reel number 4. Make sure the soundtrack is on the same side and the picture images are going in the same direction and are not misframed. Wind the entire 6,000-foot reel onto the platter. Again, check the splice. When the film is completely wound on, place the anti-skid device on the end of the feature to hold it in place. Finally, take the head and tail leaders of each of the reels and place them in one of the 2 film cans, along with the reel bands. Fasten the shipping cans and place them either next to the projector where the feature is playing or in some designated spot. As mentioned previously, this is one suggested method of makeup. Others may be used. Film Inspection Report. You must fill out the film inspection report you've received from Pinkston Sales. This form protects your theater from liability if you receive destroyed or deficient film. A good time to fill out this form may be after you've started your features. After all, the film showing is of utmost importance. Make the film up as soon as you get it and preview before the first showing. You must fill in the top portion of the report, your theater name, the city, the state, and the date. Information for the middle portion of this report can be found on the shipping label. You must fill in the title, running time, film exchange, type of film, place it was received from, and the condition of the soundtrack and the film when you received it. Below following remarks is where you can explain further the condition of the film. Make sure you mention anything we may be accused of causing later. Then fill in the date of the last film inspection mark and sign your name. The original copy of this report must be mailed to the booking department in the Dallas office the day the show opens. A copy of the film inspection report must also be kept on file in your theater. In any and all inspection cases, you must advise the manager if the film is especially bad. If not all the reels show up, if you get an old print and were supposed to receive a new one, and of course, if you were sent the wrong film. In most cases, your booker should also be notified. Print transfers. If a print must be transferred, follow this procedure. To transfer prints from one platter to another, you should have at least 2 people. Do not remove the center ring. Each theater should be equipped with film transport devices, 3 per set. These double U-shaped clamps are placed on the outside and inside diameters of the film and tightened securely with a finger knob. All 3 sets of clamps should be used approximately 1/3 diameter of the print apart around the film. While transferring, the print should rest on the arms of the people involved. Care should be used to protect the film transports, particularly the feeder assembly. Carefully center the film on the new platter. Again, protect the film transports and the feeder assembly. Remove all 3 clamps. If a piece of tape has been used on the last wrap of film, this must be removed prior to print showing to prevent damage to the feeder assembly. Put an anti-skid device in its place. Oil check. As we mentioned in booth opening procedures, one of the first things to do in the morning is to check the oil levels on your projectors before they are ever turned on. The Simplex projector has an oil level indicator which is normally located at the front of the projector. The oil should reach the level ring when the projector is not running. When the projector is running, the oil is pumped and sprayed on the gears and the level will show lower. On the Century projectors, the oil level indicator is here. The oil level is full when the oil reaches this red line. During the time the projector is running, there will not be a level showing. Even if you check the level when the projector is stopped at intermission, you will not get an accurate oil level measurement. The time to check is in the morning before the projector has ever been run. Over-oiling can cause all the oil to be siphoned out the backside of the movement. Thread up. Thread up of a projector should be done in the morning. This is done to keep the film on the platter and covered so no dust or dirt can reach the film overnight. Viz Queen covers also protect the film from overnight dust accumulation. So as you begin thread up, these covers need to be removed. Place all switches in the off or center position. Lock the speed control carriage in position with the hinged leaf. Remove the take-up ring from the film to be shown and install on the platter selected to take up the film. Thread the film from the center of the disc through the feeder assembly. Turn the toggle switch to run and the take-up selector switch to the take-up platter. Then thread the film through the rollers on the upright column. Slowly pull the film through the guidance roller system back to the take-up ring. Fasten the film to the ring so that the soundtrack is up and the film winds in a counterclockwise direction. Now we're ready to thread the projector. Place a laundry basket underneath the projector to catch excess leader. Pull enough leader to thread the projector. Place the intermittent movement in the lock position. To do this, place your finger on the teeth of the intermittent sprocket. Advance the projector mechanism forward by using the motor flywheel until the intermittent sprocket comes to rest. It will advance a quarter turn and then stop. This is the locked position. The movement has to be in the locked position in order to properly frame the picture image. The film image is upside down when the film is threaded into the projector with the soundtrack on the outboard side. The first component in the projector we come to is the upper sprocket. It's a toothed wheel that actually pulls the film through the projector. The film perforation should be placed on the sprocket teeth. After this, it's important to close the pad roller. A pad roller is a roller designed to guide the film against the sprocket. Now slide the film through the gate and trap area. Remember to leave enough film to form an upper loop. Size depends upon the type of projector. Place the film perforations on the intermittent sprocket teeth so that one frame of the picture image is centered in the framing window located at the top of the trap. Close the gate. Form a lower loop. Again, size depends upon the projector. Place the film perforations on the teeth of the lower sprocket and close the pad roller. On this simplex projector, thread the film onto the stabilizer drum. Close the lateral guide on the sound drum. Pull the film perforations tight on the sprocket, then go back one perforation and close the pad rollers. Thread film underneath the fail-safe arms, through the lower take-up reel, then back up to the take-up platter. On the Century projectors, the sound heads require the film to be under tension as it passes the solar cell. To accomplish this, place the film perforations on the teeth of the last sprocket until the two red lines line up. Then close the pad roller. After complete thread up, the entire film path should be re-examined and advanced by hand to check it out. Is there a singing sprocket? This signifies excessive tension or misalignment of guidance rollers somewhere in the film path. The sprocket teeth should be felt through every perforation. Make sure all pad rollers and gates are closed. Check to see if the film is properly seated on all idler rollers in the platter system. Placing the toggle switch for the take-up platter in the run position will cause the disc to turn slowly until the slack is removed. Keep an eye out so the film feeds properly and doesn't slide off a roller. The disc will then stop. The film is now ready for presentation. Again, remember, other systems may operate somewhat differently. Final inspection of film. A final inspection of a film must be completed before ever being shown to the public. For the final inspection of a film, it should be previewed by a member of the theater staff, whether it be the manager, doorman, whoever. Again, before being shown to the public. This will ensure that the feature has been put together correctly and you have a good print. If you're opening a new picture before running the final inspection, check the following. Is the feature flat or scope? Set the correct projection lens. Adjust masking in the auditorium if necessary. Set the automation for the correct sound format if stereo is required. Time trailers and the feature for accurate running time. Some of the problems you may encounter are: a new print shipped from a movie lab may have no sound on one of the reels. The reel bands may have been put on the wrong reels. If not detected during makeup, this would put the movie out of sequence. The cue for the house lights is not early enough. The house light should start coming up just as soon as the closing credits hit the screen. Misframes. These are human errors, usually caused by a bad splice, and there are going to be some. There will be times when the film won't come in until the afternoon of its showing, as on a sneak or radio promotion. In this case, the film should be previewed even at the expense of a matinee showing. Attempt to contact your district manager to let him know what you're doing. Pick your slowest movie, the one with a few customers. Take that film off to preview the new one. The reasoning is that often these special showings sell out, and these are the ones that the mistakes are made on. Many times because they came in the afternoon and were not previewed before the screening. Taking the show off to preview a special screening is a judgment call, a call that is made by experienced management who can make an intelligent decision. If contact cannot be made with your DM, this decision is solely yours. short subject inspection. Probably the most neglected part of the screen presentation is the short subject film. Screen ads, coming attractions, daters that run show after show, week after week. You should preview your shorts at the same time you preview your feature. More often than not, the short subjects are spliced off the feature that has come down and left on the platter. Then the new feature going up will be spliced onto these shorts. However, you must check with the theater's log to see which shorts, if any, need to be added or deleted before splicing the shorts onto the new feature. Many theaters are having problems primarily with missed frames and film breaks because once these shorts are put together, they are forgotten until something like this occurs. Even though Mylar leaders are extremely strong, they do in time become warped and distorted, which can result in the loss of proper loops. This also can cause misframes and problems at startups. Following these recommendations can deter much of this. When it becomes hard to frame during thread-up or a leader becomes warped or distorted, replace it. Check the splice from the leader to the first screen ad at least once a week. This splice is extremely critical because it has to withstand startup loads of the projection equipment. Hand inspect all house short subjects at least every 2 weeks, paying close attention to stretched or ripped splicing tape between short subjects. And as in any film inspection, if you see a bad splice, remake it. As you're previewing your shorts, this is a good time to clock them for an accurate running time. Tear down. The following is one suggested method of teardown. Others may also be used. Teardown procedure is practiced when we have shown a movie for the last time and we need to get it back into the cans to be shipped out. For purposes of discussion, this will be the same 6-reel feature we made up in the previous section. First, connect the makeup table to the platter. Release the tension arm. It's here on the ORC platter. This allows the platter to rotate freely. Now we open up the shipping cans, take out the roll of reel bands. Also, get all your head and tail leaders from the cans and line them up together for easy access. Next, we will need to get an empty shipping reel out of the can and place it on the makeup table. Feed the tail end of reel number 6 through the roller and around the shipping reel. Begin winding it. Wind the film until the shoe polish marked splice between reel number 6 and reel number 5 is just about at the shipping reel. Cut the splice on the frame line. Separate the two and attach the head leader of reel 6 onto the beginning of reel number 6. Observe that the picture image on the head is the same as that on the beginning of reel number 6. Roll the leader onto the reel. Wrap the reel band marked number 6 around the film. Now, place reel number 6 into the film can. Take out reel 5 and put it on the makeup table. Find the tail of reel 5 and connect it to the end of reel number 5, which is still on the platter. Again, observing that the picture frames match. Remember, we are now no longer using yellow splicing tape, only clear. Also, you must splice both sides of the film. Continue to follow these teardown procedures for the remaining reels until the head of reel number 1 is reached. Splice off reel number 1 from the trailers and leave them on the platter. Also, connect the head of reel number 1 to the reel. Once you have all the reel bands on the reels and the reels back in the shipping cans, close the cans and use the clasp to lock them. You have now completed the portion of this tape that explains presentation. If you have any questions regarding this material, please contact your manager, your district engineer, or consult the chapter entitled Projection in the handbook. The next portion of this tape concerns light. Xenon bulbs provide the light necessary to project a film. These bulbs are dangerous. They contain high-pressure gas that can explode. Never remove a bulb from its box by pulling on this wire. Anytime a bulb is exposed, you must wear the face mask, the safety jacket, and the gloves provided by the theater. This is for your safety. You must remember the gloves. The glass around the electrodes is very thin and porous. Dirt and oil from your hands can weaken the bulb. This increases the likelihood of it exploding. Because of the pressurized gas and the thin glass, protective clothing is a necessity. Although there are several types of xenon bulbs used throughout the circuit, common sizes for xenon bulbs are 2,000, 3,000, and 4,200 watts. A projector's lamp wattage is determined by the size of the auditorium and its screen. The larger the screen, the more light you need. The greater the wattage necessary. The person operating the projectors must make sure the proper size bulb is used in each projector. Always replace a bulb with one of equal wattage. If the bulb is not the correct size, the focus of the light will be thrown off and very little light will reach the screen. Here in the projector, the bulb is centered in a reflector. As the light flashes on, it is gathered and focused on the film and then the screen. Remember, the reflector is aligned to ensure maximum lighting. The slightest movement of the reflector will throw off the light like this. The reflector is also very delicate, and all servicing and cleaning should be done by the engineering staff. I said all servicing and cleaning. The reflected light passes through an aperture plate on its way to the lens and screen. The aperture plate for each projector is cut to fit a specific screen size. Again, these are not interchangeable parts. These plates have two settings, one for flat and one for scope. Other projectors may have two separate plates, flat and scope. A flat film is shot with normal lenses. A scope film is shot with a special lens that compresses the images and thus must have special projection considerations. The wider of the two openings is the scope position. A film's format is sometimes noted on the reel bands of the shipping reels. A film's format should also be posted on the back of the projector with its feature times. Because the projected light passes through the aperture plate, it must be kept clean. Brush it free of dirt after each feature. From the aperture plate, the light travels to the lens. The lens focuses and magnifies the image to fit the auditorium screen. Lenses are individually designed and are not interchangeable. Also, you should never try to take a lens apart. Like the aperture plates, there are two projection lenses. One lens is for flat films and the other one for scope. On some projectors, you will need to remove one lens to insert the other. On other projectors, the lenses will simply rotate. Make sure you use the correct lens. Lenses need to be kept clean so that the screen image is sharp with good contrast. Next, the light exits the projection booth through the port window. This is another surface that must be kept clean, both sides of the glass. When a film begins, turn off the fluorescent lights around the projector. If left on, the light will fall into what is supposed to be a darkened auditorium. These lights can also cause a hum in the sound system. Finally, the light hits the screen. Theater screens are very delicate. Don't try to fix or clean a screen yourself. This should only be done by a professional to avoid further damage to the screen. In some theaters, you will find an additional feature of curtains that hang on either side of the screen. This is for masking, making the screen larger for scope films and smaller for flat films. Positioning the curtains at the edge of the picture image prevents the rough edges caused by the aperture plate from showing. This gives a cleaner presentation. The xenon bulb, aperture plates, lenses, and screen work together for the best presentations possible. It is up to the person operating the booth to use the equipment properly so that the public can enjoy escaping to the movies. Maintenance. Now that you have a basic understanding of projection booth operations, the following segment should make clear the care and maintenance of your booth. Cleaning the equipment is the best way to keep the projection booth running smoothly. If records are promptly and accurately completed, the engineers and those operating the projectors will be able to keep up with repairs, orders, and inventory. All cleaning should be done in the morning. This way, the booth is at its peak performance level at the start of each day. Cleaning at night when the projector's lenses and windows are hot can damage these elements. Make sure the tape splicer is free of tape buildup. Use a straightened out paper clip to push tape through the punch holes. Splicers should be kept in one standard place so in case of an emergency, all booth personnel will know where to find them. The carpet should be vacuumed each morning to keep dust at a minimum. The port window should be checked daily and cleaned as necessary. Any Windex type cleaner is fine, just check for streaks. Streaks will cause your screen image to look out of focus. To avoid damage to the window, it should be cleaned in the morning when it's cool. Clean the platters. Again, any Windex type solution is fine. Remember to go back and clean the platter that originally held the film that morning. Wipe all the film transport rollers and feeder assemblies to remove daily dust accumulation. The cue detector rollers on the failsafe need to be cleaned to ensure proper cueing. Wipe the rollers with a dry cloth and use a Q-tip and WD-40 to remove residue from the metal rollers. Do not oil these rollers. Wipe dust off the outside of the projector and console. This helps prevent dirt from getting into the projector itself. Dirt here can damage the film as well as the machine. Never clean any equipment while it's in operation. The projector itself should be wiped out not only each morning but also after each feature. Take a rag and work down through the projector and sound head, removing the dirt accumulation. Never use a cloth on a projector while it's running. Besides a cloth, each projector should be supplied with a toothbrush, Q-tips, and a small paintbrush. The metal on the paintbrush should be covered with tape to avoid scratching the projector. The paintbrush will allow you to clean hard-to-reach areas. Sprockets can be cleaned with the toothbrush. Lightly move the toothbrush over the sprockets. Pad rollers are cleaned to remove emulsion buildup. Metal rollers can be lubricated with a drop of oil. White and black nylon rollers do not need any lubrication. To clean the film trap area, unscrew the upper and lower knurled knobs and remove the film gate. The small paintbrush is used to clean the dirt and residue from around the gate and trap area. The gate should be brushed out in the morning and after each feature. The film gate and aperture plates are the only parts on the projector that should be removed for cleaning. Z-coat applied to the film gate runners with a Q-tip will remove caked-on dirt. Also, Z-coat applied to the trap runners lubricates these parts, causing less wear and a steadier presentation. This area has a tendency to get dirtier faster because of its close contact with the film. You want to keep the area around the sound head clean to avoid audio problems. Wipe around the sound head with a cloth. The solar cell and sound optic lens should only be cleaned with a dry Q-tip. Solar cells, especially Dolby stereo cells, are extremely fragile, and cell alignment is critical. Use caution not to move the cell out of alignment. Both lenses of the projector need to be checked daily and cleaned as needed. At night, the lenses are hot, and any liquid placed on them is liable to crack them. That's why lenses must be cleaned in the morning. Moisten one sheet of lens paper with lens cleaner and lightly rub over the lens surface. Starting at the center and working outward in a circular motion, quickly wipe it dry with another sheet of tissue. Never apply lens cleaner directly to the lens. The moisture could get inside and cause fogging. If you have problems with the lens, call your engineer. Air blowers, compressors are not recommended for cleaning projectors. The spray from these machines cannot be controlled. Chemicals and dirt end up being blown into the lenses, bearings, and optical sound path, all of which create serious problems. The film itself, if not a new lab print, should be cleaned during the first day of its run and again during each holdover week. Place the film cleaner on the bracket here and tighten the thumb screw. Make sure a new set of cleaning media has been properly installed. Thread the film through the cleaner and then the projector. Never reuse cleaning media because it's dirty and it could cause severe damage to the print. Also, make sure you have enough media to last the duration of the film. If the media runs out and the film is being pulled through an empty cleaner, your print could be badly scratched. To load new media, remove the thumb screws on the take-up shafts and on the media supply shafts. Install the bulk of cleaning media on the supply shaft. Place the take-up roll on the take-up shaft. Repeat the same installation for the remaining shafts. Lastly, tighten all the thumb screws. Before the projector is ever turned on in the morning, you need to check the oil level. You cannot accurately measure this when the projector is running. Projectors use oil just like cars to cool their moving parts. On the Century projector, the level indicator is located here. The red line indicates the proper oil level. The Simplex projector has an oil level indicator usually located here on the front of the projector. If the oil level is low, add a few drops. Do it slowly and carefully. Over-oiling will cause leakage that could damage other parts of the projector. Some sound heads may need oiling too, but check the projector's instruction book or the handbook before doing anything. The majority of repairs and replacements in the booth must be done by an engineer. However, because xenon bulbs are so important and fairly simple to change, they are the exception. First, you need to get dressed in your protective clothing. The safety jacket, the face mask, and the gloves must be worn any time a bulb, old or new, is exposed. This is for your protection. The bulbs contain highly pressurized gas that can easily explode. To change a bulb, the tools you will need include both a flat and Phillips screwdriver, an Allen wrench, and some pliers. Remember to wait at least 15 minutes before removing a bulb that has been in operation. To change an ORC lamp house bulb, turn off all power to the system and unlock the lamp access door. Remove all the screws from the safety door. For speed's sake, we will only show one screw being removed. Raise the interlock arm and swing it open. Locate the plastic wrap used to install the lamp and carefully wrap it around the lamp. Loosen the anode lead from the igniter terminal. Open the plenum access door and unscrew all the screws. Again, for speed's sake, we will only show one screw being removed. Remove the shield. Loosen both hex set screws, here and on the front, that retain the cathode end of the lamp. Do not remove the set screws. While holding the bulb, disconnect the anode lead from the igniter terminal. Remove the lamp and place it in the shipping carton. Return the lamp to the engineering department for disposal. Now you need to install a replacement bulb. Take the xenon lamp from its carton, loosen the two ties on the plastic wrap, but do not remove it. Carefully feed the cathode end of the lamp through the center of the reflector and into the focus mechanism. Secure the set screws with an Allen wrench. Make sure it fits flush with the bracket. Carefully remove the plastic wrap from the lamp without pulling or exerting any bending pressure on the lamp. Attach the anode lead to the igniter circuit. Make sure the front lead from the igniter to the lamp is well clear of the reflector and cooling ducts, or high voltage arcing and shorting may occur. After tightening the nut with your fingers, secure it with pliers. Close the safety door and tighten the screws. This may be easier to do without the gloves. Close the lamp access door. The console will not operate unless this door is secure. Replace the shield. And close the plenum access door. Turn on the power. To change a Christie lamp house bulb, turn off all power to the lamp house and rectifier. Do this before you open the lamp house door. Loosen the screws to remove the back and side doors. The last screw to be loosened on the side door is under the safety latch. Remove the door. Loosen the screw on the hose assembly and remove the hose from the negative bulb holder. Then, loosen the nut on the negative end of the bulb. Loosen the Allen nut on the positive lead assembly. Remove the nut on the negative end of the bulb. Carefully slide the bulb toward the front of the projector and slowly lift it out. Then remove the washer from the negative end of the bulb and the positive metal bulb shield from the other end of the bulb. Locate the plastic casing that came around the bulb and carefully place the bulb in it and close the case. Finally, put the lamp in the box it originally came in. Now to install a bulb, replace the metal shield on the positive end of a bulb of equal wattage and the washer on the negative end of the bulb. The washer holds the bulb in place, keeping it from turning while tightening the nut. It also holds the bulb in place while removing the nut. Slide the bulb through the reflector and place the bulb on the negative bulb holder. The bubble on the bulb should always be pointing above the horizontal plane. Replace the nut and tighten it. Install the positive lead assembly onto the positive end of the bulb. Secure it by tightening the Allen nut. Replace the air hose assembly on the negative bulb holder and secure. Remember, the reflector and bulb are fragile, and all final adjustments will be made by the engineers. Replace the door. Remember to close and lock the safety latch. If this is not locked into position, you will not get any power to the lamp house. Turn on the power. On both types of projectors, after the bulb is in place, you need to adjust it. Using the lamp house controls, distribute the light on the screen. Get the light as even as possible and notify the engineer that a bulb has been changed so he can fine-tune it. Anytime a bulb is replaced, a xenon bulb record card must be filled out. These cards are located on the back of each projector. Find the bulb's reference on the card, should be the last entry. The model and the serial number should match those on the bulb you're removing. Fill in the date the bulb was removed and the total number of hours the bulb was in use. You'll find this information on the side of the projector. State the reason the bulb was replaced and initial the card. Now, enter the new bulb's model number, serial number, and the date it was installed. Note the number of hours the bulb has already logged if it's not new. When a card is full, it should be kept on file and replaced with a new card. The lamp warranty claim form and the return authorization form should also be filled out if applicable. Information concerning these forms can be found in the handbook. Each projector should have its own binder containing booth maintenance log forms. Any work or problems with the projector should be noted in the log. On their visits, the engineers will consult these logbooks. Here they should find all the information necessary to check and fine-tune your repairs and replacements. Any potential problems that they should be aware of should also be noted. For security purposes, the projection booth should be kept locked at all times. Keep the port windows closed and locked. If possible, block access to the speaker systems. All doors not for public use should be marked as such. Keeping the booth and equipment clean is the best way to ensure presentation quality and proper maintenance. Keep the splicer free of tape buildup. Vacuum each morning. Clean the platters and the outside of the projectors daily. Make sure the aperture plates, lenses, and port windows are free of dirt and streaks. Wipe the film gate and trap area clean following each feature. Wear the protective clothing and take care when replacing bulbs. All forms and reports must be accurately and completely filled out. Keep maintenance logs current and notify the engineers when you have problems. Don't wait. As soon as something goes wrong, fix it or get help. Problems do not fix themselves.